We all want to be happier, but how do we get there? First, we start by realizing happiness is not a destination. Being happy consists of micro action steps every single day. I'm your host, Brittany King, and I'm here to guide you along the way. Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to the Positively Real podcast. And if you're listening to this the day that the podcast comes out, happy day before Valentine's Day. Now, I'm not really a big Valentine's Day gal. I think it's a Hallmark holiday, but the essence of what it's about, I love. And I'm loving, there's all different types of messaging around this time. You know, there's Valentine's Day, there's dating yourself and self-love. There's just, this overall theme of love. This is love month. And it got me thinking about the emotion of love and why it's the best emotion to choose at all times. And the reason love is the best emotion to choose is because it feels good. And it's so much easier to feel that way than all the other emotions that we like to feel on a day to day. So, what I wanted to share with you today, because there's such a big emphasis on self love, and I think it gets kind of what's the word that I'm trying to think of? It gets kind of what I can't even think of the word. I think it's like, what is the word that I'm trying to say? My brain literally just went, what is it? What is the word? I mean, it's going to come to me halfway through this episode. So don't even worry about it. I'm just going to come into my brain. I'm going to be like, that's the word. Anyway, self-love gets a lot of hype in the month of February, and with good reason, because self-love is truly the foundation of having a healthy relationship, and a healthy relationship not only with yourself, but also the people around you. And so when I think of self-love, I think of self-acceptance. I think of self-trust. I think of self-forgiveness. There's all these different elements of self-love, and they're all very important. And one of the things that I've been really working on is accepting and loving all parts of myself, even when I do things that I don't love. And that's what I wanted to make this episode for you about, because you might love yourself when things are moving and you were in flow and things are going really well. But then as soon as you're not, you're hard on yourself and you're mean and you judge yourself or whatever it is. And that's not true self-love. Self-love is loving your whole self, no matter what you're doing. And yes, in theory, that sounds lovely, but it's definitely harder in practice. So I wanted to come at you with a quickie, because tomorrow, if you're listening to this episode on Tuesday, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. And wherever you're at in your relationships and in your life, maybe you aren't in the relationship that you want to be, or maybe you are in a relationship, but you don't feel as connected, or maybe you're in a thriving relationship and everything is going really well. This episode is for you, because there's this element of self-acceptance that is necessary to really grow and thrive in all relationships, like I said earlier. So I know the feeling of seeing people in relationships, seeing all these people together and feeling like you're never going to find your person. And I've shared this on the podcast before. And there was this time right before I met my now husband where I had been in a terrible dating pattern, terrible cycle, just this little girl inside of me. All she wanted to do was be loved. But because she was so hurt and so afraid of being abandoned and left behind, she would literally sabotage all relationships that she had. And at this point in my life, I was not in a good way. I was so focused on finding the partner to complete me, finding the person to take care of me, kind of like a savior in a way, because I was I was so hurt. And my behaviors, you would look at me and be like, you would definitely judge me. And I've done a lot of work to not judge myself for my past actions and a lot of work to forgive and accept. And now I'm at this place of full acceptance of that girl because she was so hurt. All she wanted was to be loved. That's all she wanted. And she did not realize that she needed to truly love herself first. And I know it's so cheesy and overdone, but it is the truth. It is the hard, cold truth. I had to go down this journey and realize that the external love that I was searching for wasn't going to happen if I didn't turn my focus inward and start loving and accepting my whole self exactly as I was. And when I did that, and that definitely was not perfect, but when I really started taking care of myself and loving myself and really accepting who I was and where I was in my life, that is when I became an energetic match for my partner today. And it still kind of blows my mind because I think if I was in that place that I was at now and I heard someone tell me that, I would probably roll my eyes and be like, yeah, 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 like whatever. That's just something that people say. That's not true. But being a product of that, it really is the truth. And so, how do you love yourself? Number one, you have to love your past self. You have to accept the behaviors, the qualities, the things that you've said, the things that you've done. You have to accept them. I know it's so hard, so hard. We love to beat ourselves up, but it doesn't serve us. So the first is you have to love your past self. And then you have to love your present self, who you are today, what you're doing today, exactly as you are, not the version of you that's in a relationship or that has accomplished the goal or got the job or whatever it is, bought the house, not that version, who you are right now in this moment in time, all of you. And then you have to love your future self. And that is doing things for yourself today that might not feel good, that's going to set your future self up, help your future self feel good in the future. It's that delayed gratification. So if you can really work on those three areas of loving yourself, you set. Now, obviously, I know it's easier said than done, but I want to give you an exercise. So if you're having a hard time with self love and self acceptance, I am doing this with myself and my clients. And it is such a powerful journaling exercise. Now, I recommend doing this after a couple of rounds of breath, just getting really present and in your body, turning off distractions, and just coming from a place of just pure curiosity and love, and writing down all the qualities that you love about yourself. And you can start with your physical attributes, and then you can go to your personality and all sorts of different things, but start there. Always start with the positive. And then write down the qualities that you don't love about yourself. Ooh, those things that you just wish you could change. Things that you're like, oh, like if only I wasn't this way. Just the stuff that you really judge yourself on. And write it down and just notice how your body feels as you're writing it, but don't judge yourself. Be open, be compassionate, and curious. Get curious about why you don't love those things about yourself. And then this is the magic part. All right. The magic is writing how that thing you don't love about yourself is your superpower. How is that actually a positive quality about you? And just notice how different that feels, and being able to reframe the things that you don't love about yourself, your shadowy part, into a way that actually helps you feel more whole and complete. And that really allows you to love your whole self exactly as you are today. So I've done this a couple of times. And one of the things that I wrote down that I didn't love about myself is my monkey brain, that I'm just very impulsive. I'm like, I get having conversations. I have to work really hard to be present. And it's funny being a coach because it really has trained me to be present, be in my body and listen. And I still like it's still a challenge for me. It's a challenge for me because of how my brain is. And I used to always think that that was a terrible thing and I would never talk about it. But I'm like, how is that my superpower? Number one, it allows me to be more relatable and I can connect with people that also have that same challenge. Number two, the impulsive side of me that I don't love necessarily actually helps me be a risk taker. And if you know me, you know I love taking risks. And it's because I bet on myself. And that impulsiveness allows me to take risks that if I was more calculated and less impulsive, I don't know if I would take as many risks as I had. And I probably wouldn't have this life that I have either. So you can kind of see how I took something that I thought was a negative attribute about myself and I turned it around and I accepted it and looked at it from an angle of like, how does this actually serve me? And it does. It's served me in so many ways. It has served me in so many ways. And I wouldn't be who I am without it. So I invite for you to do this practice of self acceptance. And it might not be the easiest for you, and that's okay. If you notice yourself being judgy or hard, stop what you're doing and come back when you're feeling more open and compassionate. You don't have to do it when you're not feeling great because whatever state you're in, whatever state your body's in your nervous system, depending if you are in, that parasympathetic state, it's a great time to do it. If you're more in a sympathetic state, might not be a great time. If you're more in that shutdown dorsal vagal state, it's also not a great time to do it. So you really want to find that time where you feel really calm and grounded to do an exercise like this. And being able to do it really shapes the lens in which you view yourself and the lens in which you view the world. Your state completely matters when it comes to journaling because when you give yourself lip service and you're more of a shutdown and everything just feels kind of dull and blah, you're not going to believe it. And you don't even have access to your higher thoughts. Your higher thinking is not online when your nervous system is activated or if it's going into a shutdown state. So, the importance of being in a balanced place in your body before doing this makes the biggest difference. But I really wanted to share this with you because I've been doing this with clients and it's been so helpful to have that reframe and also really do the practice of self love. It's like, can you love your whole entire self, your past self, your present self, your future self? So it's like the actions that you do today are influenced by the actions you did in the past, which then determine how you show up in the future. And when you can really accept and meet yourself where you're at, everything else flows together. So I wanted to give this quick episode to you. If you haven't signed up for the self love challenge, I can talk to my girlfriend, Rachel, who I had on the podcast last week, who started a self love challenge. Even if you just want the journal prompts, if you're really like working on this strength of self love, which I call it a strength because I don't think anyone inherently has self love because they think self love is selfish when it's the complete opposite. The more that we love ourselves, the more that we can show up for our families, for our communities, for our world. And let me tell you, that has been my journey. I have shared my story before about my journey with self love, and it has made the biggest difference in accepting and loving other people for who they are. And when you can love and accept yourself for who you are, it makes your connections so much deeper. So it's not selfish. I think it's one of the most selfless things that you can do is love yourself, your whole entire self, because then it allows you to not be bothered by people who they are. It's just makes the world a better place. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you try this exercise of self love, self acceptance. Let me know how it goes. If you get stuck, also let me know. I will walk you through it. I'm here to support you in any way that I can. All right, my friend, that's it. I got a quick episode for you today. I got some really fun episodes coming up in the next couple weeks. Please let me know if you have any topic suggestions or anyone you'd like on the podcast. I am here for all of it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Remember to love yourself, own your happiness, and let your light shine because you are so worthy. Until next time.